Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Gibson. How are you? And I am trying to get the rest of my programming set up. Of course, it's always me and my back office. I'm always in some type of turmoil. They know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing all the time on these platforms. But except for the conversation, today we have a wonderful guest. But I want to talk about norm therapy and what we do at Socialization of Abuse podcast. Our whole objective here is just to familiarize you with our staff that's around the world. We have an African lady. She's going to talk about her African descent. We have a lady who's from Africa, but also she lives in South America, in Brazil. So she's one of our norm therapists trained by our organization. She's a wonderful person, a delight to speak with all the time. We're constantly measuring people based on their abilities and commonsensical approaches to other people. We think it's very important to highlight these people. We are in the throes of being funded at Norm Therapy Inc. and taking our global company to a whole nother level. When we do that, is you're going to see a lot of television ads and radio spots and a lot of things for Norm Therapy. And some of our people who are in the back office who work with us over the years, who are norm therapists, who are treating patients around the world, some of these people will be highlighted from time to time. And we'll start taking in other kinds of guests from different fields dealing with abuse onto this show. I will continue to do this show no matter how busy we get. Maybe it'll probably make its way down to once or twice a week instead of 3 times a week like it is now, because I just am getting too busy, just to let you know. Okay. Abuse is pervasive. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. People who find themselves in abusive circumstances oftentimes don't even know they're in them. And once they're in them and they do find out, they start to immediately and personally look for ways out of it. But they don't always find a way. Abuse is so, you see it, you know it's happening, but you can't quite articulate it. I guess the word is inarticulate. Abuse is very inarticulate. So we're going to help you define abuse in many different levels at Norm Therapy, and as well as goarrow.org. If you go to our nonprofit, which is goarrow, GOARO.org, or abuserefuge.org, either you go there, abuserefuge.org or goarrow.org, and you'll be able to see a plethora of things that we've done in the abuse care industry and how we've helped people to date around the world for the past 6 years. Now, it took about 30 years to develop norm therapy, but about the last 6 we've actually implemented it. It's been a long journey, by the way. Okay, and without any further ado, I'm going to be adding to the stage here in a moment Messi, and I want her to tell you her name because I always mess it up. And she's a norm therapist intake specialist level 3 at our organization. Messi, please introduce yourself.
Good day, Michael. My name is Ouabeloua, and I'm from the Republic of Congo. Actually, I reside in Brazil. And yeah, that's basically it about me.
Yay. Well, tell me, what have you been doing? You're down in Brazil now. What part of Brazil are you in?
Actually, I'm in the southern side of Brazil, like the state is Paraná.
Okay. So yes, that's not near the capital at all, if I remember correctly. Do
Yeah,
you like
that's
it
right.
down there? Do you speak fala português?
See, so um pouco. Actually, I'm still learning Portuguese, and I don't feel that fluent as I want to be, but I can still communicate since I go to school, things like
Mhm.
that. So yeah.
I understand. Well, yeah, I mean, being from the Congo, which I have been there many times in the Congo, being from the Congo, and what part? Kinshasa, Brazzaville? What part of the Congo are you from? Republic?
Actually, like it's two different countries. So
I know,
I'm from the
I
other
know.
country, which
So when
is
somebody say
the
Congo, I'm
Republic of
asking which
Congo.
one?
Yeah,
Republic of
with the
Congo, Kinshasa.
capital, no, the capital being Brazzaville.
Oh, Brazzaville. You from Brazzaville? Oh, Congo.
Yes, that's where I
Democratic
am.
Republic of Congo is the other side. That's right. Democratic
That's correct.
Republic of Congo and the Republic of Congo. Two different ones. You're right. Brazzaville is one country, and Congo, of course, the other Congo is another. So Brazzaville is very different than than Kinshasa. I've been to both, um, when I don't say different like in culture and anything, but just different like in businesses and development and that kind of thing. I think Brazzaville is oil based, isn't it? Most of your
All
wealth
the
come from
best.
oil from petroleum oil.
To be honest, Michael, I left Congo when I was like 17. I don't know
Okay,
much.
okay,
I
no problem.
cannot
We can
pronounce
go into that.
myself on that.
Well, being African anywhere, most Africans that I meet in the world from the continent, they're in the most diverse places that I've ever seen. I mean, I
Mhm.
see them in New Zealand, I see them in South America, Central America, all over Europe, all over the United States. I mean, Africans get about as a continent goes. They get about and they do some pretty amazing things insofar as walking into different societies and building businesses and opportunities. But okay, that's beside the point. Uh, Tell me
Yeah,
something.
but yes, go ahead.
No, go
Sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. Please tell me.
No, I just wanted to say, from what I know so far, petrol is what we do produce a lot. But regarding oil in particular, honestly, I don't have no idea. I just needed to bring that clarification out there.
Right, right. Well, yeah, I remember while there a few times being in discussions with different people about doing business in the Congo and lifting oil out of Brazzaville, and that part was the big issue. And
Yeah,
gems and stones and diamonds and petroleum to a certain extent was on the other Congos. So it's just two Congos. People don't know that. So I'm glad you
yeah.
fleshed that out for us. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay, so you, what brought you to Abuse Refuge Org, our nonprofit, in the beginning? What brought you there?
Okay. Actually, at the time, I think I was no longer working and I was looking for a way to use my time. Michael, I believe in helping the society, and since when I was in school, I was busy like giving my time to help people and to do all NGOs things. Now I was on LinkedIn searching for something to do. Now I came across Abuse Refuge. I started reading. It was so interesting, and I saw that you were also working with people outside. And I saw Eve, she was there, and I knew Eve. I know Eve is not in the USA, so if she's working there, probably it's possible for me to work there. Now I saw the talent acquisition position and applied. Then I had to speak to Nicole, who was very friendly and she was amazing. At the time I was on holiday back home, the internet was bad. And she did her best, like to accommodate me and have the interview ongoing. I had a great experience from the first time. Then I told myself, I think this would be a great place for me to be part of. And that's how I joined Abuse Refuge Org.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. We're one of these organizations. We're very unique. A lot of these videos that we're doing now will be used in the future for business development, for showcasing our staff, and all of that. We're an innovative company dealing a lot with, of course, every kind of abuse you can possibly imagine on the planet right now, with the exception of alcohol and drugs, because you need special licensing normally in the United States in different areas because we are a US based company. So we're working on those licensures. Once we have those licensures where we can actually provide that kind of service through norm therapy for abuse care in the alcohol and drugs area, we'll, of course, do that. Just wanted to let you know that, being 6 years old as a actual function and service, no matter if it took 3 decades to develop, being actually 6 years old makes us relatively young in the therapeutic world. So, but we're making our niche and we're carving out our niche in the marketplace even as we speak, almost every day. Tell me something. What makes you excited about helping other people?
What makes me excited about helping other people is because I was abused. Like I was a victim of abuse. Thanks God, I've never been sexually abused or anything like that. But I did
Mm-hmm.
have kind of things like that, and I was abused. I was victim of abuse from people like from my surrounding, people from church, at work, things like that. And I was exposed to many situations where I felt like I was almost on my own and I had to find out ways to get out of every situation that I found myself in. Then I felt like, okay, if I'm in this situation, I surely there are other people in the same situation. Then I started talking to people, and I understand that there were many people in those situations. And I told myself, like, you know what? I believe in the saying that goes, we only give what we have. And what I think that I can always have is time. So let me just give my time in helping other people in any kind of way that I can. My mom
Hmm.
used to run an NGO back home, even though it didn't work out as she wanted. But I used to see her doing it since I was a child. I wasn't involved in the beginning, but I always felt like I need to help. Sometimes, for my community, we do believe that helping is just like giving someone a bread or giving someone money to eat. But I think there's much more than we can give. There's much more knowledge or time, just a listening ear, things like that. And these are the things that really motivate me to help people in any way that I can. And that's why I volunteer and I do every other things that I do in that sense.
It's been scientifically proven that you get more out of helping someone else than someone helping you. Did you know that? It's been scientifically proven. I read study after study that proves that people who help others get more out of it than the people they're helping. Isn't that interesting? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I agree with that, Michael. As a matter of fact, when I joined norm therapy, although I was in error, I was working, everything was good. I know you were talking about norm therapy every day, but because I used to see so many people around me who were victims of different types of abuse, and I was like, okay, why if I join norm therapy as well? Because I was there, although I wasn't part of norm therapy, but there were things that I could learn from the meetings, from things like that. And I was like, okay, let me go there, get this knowledge so that I can also help people around me who do not understand English. You see?
Hmm.
And me coming with this motivation, you know what? Going through the norm therapy training changed my life completely. And I can tell you that the person I was in 2022 is completely different from the person that I am today. And people like they testify it. Like my brother will say, like, oh, you have changed. My mom will say that, and everyone around me will say that. And this is just a way for me proving that the fact that I was motivated by learning to help others, I actually ended up helping myself. So
Yes,
yeah.
I remember who you were back in 2022, and you were this kind of not shy, but you were rather reserved to speak. And when you did speak, you waited for everybody else to speak first, and you kind of cowered under to certain issues. But as you became a norm therapist, I remember seeing you go through training, you completely changed. You became extremely more assertive, clear. You could not be bullied anymore. No one could treat you badly. Narcissists were like your public enemy number one. You really tackled the narcissist. I was very proud to see your growth. Most people don't know that becoming a norm therapist and helping other people with abuse, you're mainly helping yourself. They don't know. How did it help you? How did norm therapy? Because remember, we were training you to help others, but how did it help you?
First of all, I will start with how can I put it? I used to be a people pleaser. Like I grew up thinking like, okay, even if someone does something which I don't believe is good, I'll just accept it. Now, during training came the one word thing that we do at norm therapy, where you need to choose one word and you need to work towards that word so that you can see how you progress, things like that. And at
Hmm.
that time, the one word that I chose was accept. I chose accept because I used to feel so much regret. There were so many things that I used to regret about, things that happened in my life. Sometimes I'll just sit back and start thinking, oh my God, yesterday I had this, today I don't have it anymore. Or this is how I was treated yesterday. Maybe it wouldn't happen. And I used to have this kind of guilt, this kind of like always thinking back and regretting. And now when I choose acceptance, now it become like if I'm sitting and now I'm having this idea coming to mind, any kind of regret, I'll just tell myself, Missy, accept and move on. And I was training myself that way. Honestly, it seems to be very simple, but it's a technique that really helped me. in that way. Then came the different types of like lie detecting things. We did also training on how to be a human lie detector. And I was like, okay,
How has that
now
worked
I
out for you? How
understand.
has that worked out for you?
Okay. Actually, there is something that I need to share. Sometimes there are things that we just feel to be normal. Like you don't really feel like it's a lie, but for you, it's normal. I'll give you an example, Michael. I remember when we were doing the norm therapy training, and now we had to do role plays because that's part of the therapy as well. And during the role play, due to lack of attention, I didn't know that we had to tell like real stories. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's a role play, so let me just play a role. Now I was telling a story and I was making up my own things based on the questions and things like that. Until admit like I think the last day or few days before we were asked like, oh, said the true story? People raise their hand. Who didn't say? I'm like, me, I made up my story. And like administration was like, no, but that's not how it should be. It should be,
I remember that meeting.
true. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I was asked the question, why did you lie? In my mind, I didn't lie. I made up a story. So for me, it was like two different things. But from that training, I'm like, okay, there are things that we actually see to be normal, which actually are not normal. This is just an example that I'm giving you from the training itself. But apart from that, in real life, I also learned reasons why people lie. These are things that I know, but there are things that I really didn't take into consideration. I would blame someone for lying to me, but after the training, if someone lies, I will sit back and try to think, what caused this person to lie? you know is it something that they did on purpose? Is it maybe a behavior? Because it's different. Someone can lie just to get out of a situation, but there are other people who intentionally lie, like they plan their lie from the beginning to end, and they have a plan to where they want to lead you into that lie. You understand? And they
Hmm.
are really focused or determined into putting you in a certain hole. So after the training, I started trying to pick and pinpoint such things. And it also helps me in my professional life. Like I do interviews every day, and we know job hunting is a hustle. People lie, they come up with stories. And sometimes I sit there and I listen to the person talking to me. Now the non-therapy casket comes to my head and I'm starting detecting like, okay, this is a lie. I have to look at your body expression, like your body language. Oh, this
Yeah.
is what I learned from non-therapy. And these are things, Michael, that really help me, not only on a personal level, but also on a professional level. And also with my interactions with other people that I interact with, I know like, okay, this
So
is
you're not
what I
afraid to
have
call
to
out the
do.
lies.
Not at all.
Some that's the biggest problem with people. They look in your face and you know they're lying, but you don't say anything because you think it's normal whatever they're saying and doing. And they're believing in their mind that they're convincing you of that lie. Norm therapy
Mhm.
teaches to watch other cues, other tells, if you will, in order to, because what's the first thing a patient does? A victim of abuse. What's the first thing they do? They lie. They just lie because the girl with the black eye and the bloody nose and the broken rib. She'll walk up to you in your face and she'll say, "He beats me because he loves me." That's what she will say. When she says that, who she's lying to? Who is she lying to? She's lying to herself.
Yourself.
She's lying to
Mhm.
me. She's lying to everyone, creating that facade. But anyway, I'm enjoying it. I remember watching you go through the course at Norm Therapy. It was not an easy course. People sometimes come to us thinking it's going to be this, pass through course or something, but it's very difficult to get through the course. So how did you find it?
Actually, I really enjoyed the course itself. And I remember at the time I took a late shift. It used to be from 9 to 11 my time. And sometimes I would be tired. I told my brother, this therapy is very important to me. Please, I need your help. And I remember there were days where we would have our 15 minutes break. Michael, I would sleep on my seat like that. And he would wake me up, like, hey, wake up. And
Wake
it
up.
was so interesting. Yeah, it was so interesting because I got support from not only my mom and my brother, but also from norm therapy. I know whenever I was not able to to understand things, I remember Michael, not Michael, how do we
Kelly,
call Nicole was there,
Nicole,
and there was another colleague, I'm just forgetting her name. She was
Kim,
there as well.
Kim,
No, 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 not, I want to say Kim. Kim also helped me, but I'm forgetting her name. She's
Kelly.
Indian. No,
Well, we had
you know,
so many instructors and
yeah,
people,
we
so
have so many people. I can't really come up with her name, and they were guiding me. I also had my mentor who was there to help me. So the training was so amazing, Michael.
is it
Apart
Desney?
from no, it wasn't
No.
Disney. To be honest, I can't call the name now.
Okay,
I
it's
really
okay.
cannot call the name. Yeah. So it was really interesting, Michael. Not only the training itself, but also the environment. Sometimes you do learn things, but if you are surrounded by good people and you have a good environment and supporting environment, trust me, everything seems easy. It's not easy for someone like to be awake at that time and focus like this, have your camera on. It can be tiring. But when you know that this is something valuable, you can do everything just to go through it. And I can tell you, maybe I know it's not like anything that comes straight to norm therapy, but I believe that many people want me, even my friends, when they have things, they'll come like, oh, Miss, you're a therapist. I'm like, hey, I'm not like that therapist that you will see out there. I work with norm therapy, but how can I help you? And these
Mm,
things, they do not only help me, but they also help my surrounding, in that
I
sense.
understand.
So this training was a life changing, and I would never regret sitting there at night taking part of this course because I know this is something which is priceless. And I can't even see the person that I was before, like 2 years from now. I can't compare with who I am today. So I would
I'm
say
so
I'm
happy to
forever
hear that.
grateful for the training. Yeah.
I'm very happy to hear that. I think everything about human existence is about bettering yourself, about becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming more creative. And if you're not doing something to better yourself in life, especially in terms of abuse, some people spend their entire lives in abuse and they don't know what freedom from abuse actually feels like. They don't know. So they're constantly being their old selves, that abused victim. They're constantly in that victim mentality. And that victim mentality oftentimes causes them to revert back to old bad habits. And they tend to choose the narcissist. And they wonder why that every boyfriend or every girlfriend they ever have is a narcissist. They wonder why the people they surround them with, that they don't appreciate them, or they talk down to them or bully them. They're always wondering why, and they don't really know, because they're putting themselves in circumstances often that are similar to everything they've experienced throughout their lives, but they don't see that. Abuse is so inarticulate. It's very difficult to describe. When a person is on the playground grabbing their kid, going, "Stop that! I told you to stop doing that," and they're just grabbing them by the collar or the arm, and they're doing all shaking that child. They don't even know that they're abusing their child because it's so common for them to do that and have that kind of response. One thing I love about norm therapy is we define abuse. We go intimate with how abuse affects people, and we help them articulate abuse in their own lives, because everybody's abuse is different. Everyone's abuse is different. That's why the name of our therapy is norm therapy, because it's not my normal, Messy, and it's not your normal. It's the normal of the victim we're trying to help them establish. And I think that that's important, that people understand it from that perspective. Okay, tell me something. In your travels, now you live in Brazil right now, and you're finishing up your master's program, your MBA down there. That's something I've seen. I have a couple of friends from the Congo. Uh, one of my best buddies in the world. He lived in South America, and he also got a master's from, I think, Chile, and another master's from uh, somewhere else in Europe, and his undergrad was in the United States, all in business, of course. And And I find that Africans, when they travel the world, they're often in pursuit of commerce or education. What is that all about?
Um, all right. I won't be able to tell about other people, but I'll try to speak about my point of view. One thing
Please.
that you need to know, Michael, from my country where I come from, yes, we do have universities and we do have schools. However, sometimes our degrees are really not valued as they should out there. And the other
Mhm.
thing is most of the materials that we use are old, outdated, if I can say that. We are really not up to date with what's going on around the world, the system, and things like that. And when we happen to be updated, usually it's late. Let's say maybe there is a version 3 which is available. Maybe Congo will update from version 1 to version 2 only. So sometimes it's just like to seek for degrees that will be recognized around the world because that will just help you and it makes things easier, especially nowadays where people are working remotely. Let's say I studied in Congo and I have a master's like that I got in Congo, and another person has a master's from England, from Brazil, things like that. And we go and apply in a big international organization. My chances will be lower simply because I was not exposed to higher technologies or updated informations, and that will make me behind other people. So that's the reason why sometimes we just try to go out there and try to get the education which are more updated. I'm not saying that back home it's bad, but I'm just saying that outside sometimes it's better than back home because we are not really up there updated.
Well, I'll say this. There's an old saying that the A students work for the B students. The B students are the executives for the C students. And the D students are whom the C students dedicate buildings and monuments to. Education used to be the barometer that people used for establishing who gets the hierarchical position in an organization and the better jobs and which education. Now, I know people who've gone to Oxford, and then I remember listening to Warren Buffett, who's one of the richest men in the world. He said, "You know, I went to the University of Nebraska, and I also went to one of these big, high Ivy League business schools." He says, "You know what? Being in both of them, I found there was zero difference in the curriculum. It was the same school, same instruction, and they could same professors, and they could compete with one another. It was so similar." He said that is not what made his riches. He said what he think that makes his riches is if he was in a more intimate place, talking to the instructors, talking to the professors, interacting with people on an intimate basis, gave him the kind of base of knowledge he needed in order to go out to become one of the richest men in the world. Because it was always approached from a commonsensical point of view. So you may be right from your perspective about the education and the value in different places, but it's becoming more and more apparent that people in the workplace are not so caring anymore about where you have your degree from. They only care that you have a degree so you can enter into the workforce. They want to know where you come from as a commonsensical person in that organization to fit with what they do. I think that that's where most of that lies. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. So tell me, in your interest in the world as you travel, um, now I know you're a younger person these days, but internationally speaking, how is your married life? Are you married? Uh, how's your
No,
married life?
I'm not
Oh,
married. I'm not
oh
married,
no.
Michael.
So the guys who watch this, they're gonna be okay. Let me meet Betsy. So okay, so look, so you're living in Brazil. You probably have a boyfriend or something like that. How does? Am I correct? If I'm not correct, let me know.
Michael, I do not have a boyfriend now, but you can go ahead and ask your question. If I'm able to
Okay.
answer, I will
Well, no,
answer with pleasure.
I was just wondering, now that you live outside of your country and you're out in the
Mhm.
world, what's your criteria for what are you looking for in men? Now that you've matured and you're working on your education and you have different insights as a norm therapist, what are some of your criteria? Has it changed from who you used to be, the kind of guys you would date, to the kind of guys you'll date now? Has it changed?
Um, okay. Let me put it this way, Michael. Let me say the last person that I dated, I think the criteria wouldn't change to today. Reason being because actually I'm looking for someone who's mentally healed. I've been speaking to people, Michael, and I can tell you there are so many people out there who might need norm therapy, but they don't know it. I'm saying this because after norm therapy, excuse me for repeating this, but this is the fact and I need to speak it out there. So many things changed. My way of seeing life in general changed. I actually learned to accept myself and to forgive myself, to accept my wrongs, to praise my good doings or things like that. I know when I'm doing well, I'm doing well. When I'm not doing well, I ask for forgiveness and I know I'm mentally stable and I have a high self-awareness. However, some people that I talk to, they are not like that. And sometimes I just talk to someone. I'm not talking financially, but I'm talking mentally. I can just talk to someone like this, and I'm like, there's no way I can sit with this person. And I'm not dating anymore because if I sit there and start talking to a guy like just because I want to go out, well, these are basic things that I can still do for myself. But if mentally you are not reaching my level, I'm sorry, I'm not entertaining you. So, my perspective when it comes to dating or getting married, I want someone who is healed. If you are not healed, there's nothing that can happen. I have friends who are married or into relationships, and sometimes they tell me their things, and I'm like, why are you doing that? And I even sometimes tell people, oh, you have to break up. And my mom told me this is wrong. You cannot ask someone to break up. I'm like, she's a toxic person, you know. How would you sacrifice your well-being or things like that for the sake of love? I understand everything, but from my side, I'm really trying to think and rethink when it comes to getting into a relationship. And this is something that I'm not ready to negotiate about. I live with my mom and my brother. These people, they bring me so much support. They understand me. And for me, getting out of this environment to get into a relationship where I will have to be someone's mentor or being there like someone who doesn't have self-esteem and I need to give you courage or try to pursue you every time you are a good person, you are this every day. No, this is a work and you need to work yourself out. So yeah, basically this is what I would say, like mentally aware and someone stable mentally. This is like one of the minimum things that I expect my future husband to have. So yeah.
Understood. Very well put. I want to switch gears and go back to some topics that are interesting to you. Talk to me about school bullying. Why is that one of your areas of interest?
Because I've been bullied in school.
Ah, you were
Let me share
bullied.
this. Yeah,
Sure.
I went to grade one. I didn't go to how do we call
Kinder.
it? To preschool. I went to grade one. I was 4 years of age. I was small for my age, for my physical appearance and my height. And when I started school, I was very brilliant, and people were bullying me just because I was small. Primary school, I tried to fight with that, and then as I moved along, there was this guy in my school. He was taller than I was. Like he was older in all aspects, age, height, everything. And this guy used to bully me every day. I was bullied by my colleagues, like my classmates. I was bullied by my teacher. I remember one of the teacher, he used to like every Monday he would do cleaning, I don't know, like cleanliness thing. He wanted people to be clean when you come to school, have your hair well done, brush your teeth, things like that. But because I took so many antibiotics in my childhood and my teeth were yellow, he would beat me for that. So if he see that your teeth are dirty, he will slap you like on your mouth. If your nails are not cut, he will beat you on the nails. And I would tell this person like, I brush my teeth every day. This color has nothing to do with me not brushing my teeth, but he still beat me for that. Apart from him, there was this boy, and it was so much. Then I spoke to my father. Thanks God, he had to come up and he stood up for me and that child, like the guy who was bullying me, stopped bullying me. And the other, my teacher who used to beat me, he stopped beating me. But what was sad in all that is that many people found it normal, you know. The only thing that people try to be a bit concerned about is sexual abuse, but it's not always sexual abuse. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's are verbal. And these are things people really neglect. And these things, they are really dear to me. And every time I see something like that, I have to speak about it.
Well, I want you to clarify something, because I remember when I was a kid, the teachers beat you in school as well in the United States. It was corporal punishment was a part of every school's curriculum. You go to class, they hit you with a ruler, or they'll slap you, or beat you on your butt, spank you on the butt. I mean, it was normal back then. A lot of people don't understand that. To go to school and have your teacher on top of you, and they whatever they felt like doing, they could just beat you that day. So you said something about yellow teeth, that the water made your teeth yellow or something. You said, oh,
No, the antibiotic, the
yeah,
medicine.
right, the antibiotic, right? Antibiotics
Yeah.
do discolor your teeth. So due to antibiotics, your teeth were yellow. So your teacher beat you as a child. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that your teeth were somehow unclean. That's
Yeah.
pretty bad. So that experience of being and bullied in school, not only by your teachers, but also by your classmates, and not only because your physical appearance, because you were small and you had from yellow teeth from antibiotics, but also that you were smart. You were in first grade at 4 years old. That's quite a leap, especially at an early age. So 4 years old, you must have been intimidated by a lot of people in your class.
Yeah. And the thing is, like in every classes where I found myself, I used to be either the youngest or among the youngest. And the ones who are older than me, they would just find a way to bully. Or I remember I was in a class where, like, we were actually divided. That's how it usually works in Congo. So they would take the top five of the class, they would put you one side, then like they kind of divide the most intelligent and the less intelligent. And you see the ones which are the less intelligent people, although I do not like that way of doing things, but the ones who are the less intelligent people, they'll be beating you. And I remember in one class they said, if they call your name, you are top five, you go like in front because they'll call your name like, oh, the first of the class, Messi, come in front, things like that. You are happy, you need to smile. They'll be like, no, you shouldn't smile. Like there were so many things, like horrible things like that that happened throughout my journey when I was in school, even when I was in high school, there was a group of girls who just teamed up. I didn't know them from nowhere. That was a new school that I went into. They just disliked me. They would see me, okay, those ones didn't touch me, like no physical bullying, but verbal bullying, they would insult me, like things like that. And I was so exposed to this to the point where I'm like, okay, I know I'm not alone. I know many people out there are victims of this. Sometimes I speak to people around me, they have been victims of this. So that's why I
It's a
try to
global
speak
phenomena.
about.
It's a global phenomena. Young girls especially go through this all the time. I think the abuse in school, young boys get their money taken from them, but the girls are verbal abuse and physical abuse often. It's really something. So how did you survive that kind of abuse?
Why? Like from primary school up to like in Congo we say it college before secondary school. That boy, actually, my father went to his house because I told my father, this is too much. He's beating me, things like that. And then we went to his house. When we got there, it happened that his dad and my dad were colleagues. They worked in the same area in the past. And my dad said, but why did you do that? She's your sister. And I told my dad, he's not my brother. I don't know him. He beat me every day. And my dad told his father, please speak to your son because if he does it again, then I like it won't work out. And my dad told me if he beats you again, come and talk to me. His dad blamed him in front of me and my dad. Ever since he stopped touching me because he used to do like if I'm sitting, he would come and slap me on the head or pull my hair, things like that. That stopped.
Can
And
I share
regarding
something
the
with you?
girls, yes,
I've
Michael.
had patients with this same problem. And a lot of times, those are very traumatic experiences that girls experience when boys hit them. But
Yeah.
what I also do is ask the women that I counsel and that are patients of mine. I ask them this question: could it be that that boy liked you? Because oftentimes little boys, they don't know how to communicate with little girls, so they'll hit them on the arm or push them or talk bad to them because they don't know how to make that connect. Oftentimes, it has been seen that little boys like little girls when they try to bully them because they don't know how to operate that kind of relationship as having a little girlfriend or having a friend. But that's not always the case, but sometimes it is the case. So let me go back to another question. I want to switch to something else here. What about in the workplace? How much abuse are you witnessing in the workplace these days?
Um, okay, out a lot, Michael. Not only directly from my side. I'll speak in general. For example, many people are abused. I speak to my friends who work, especially in my country, and this is a lot. Sometimes you see someone working, not only they pay people little money, but also the way people are treated in the workplace is horrible. And I sometimes listen to people's stories being a HR personnel. I'm shocked. Like, how do you get to that level? Imagine like a supervisor speaking badly to someone or insulting in the workplace, belittling people. These are things that are ongoing. People being threatened, like, oh, many people are looking for jobs. If you want, I can fire you today. These are things that can be emotionally abusing because imagine someone has a family to feed and now you come to work and your supervisor keeps threatening you in that way. This is bad and this affects people because someone who has a bad day at work and they come home, he can be violent to his wife. He can be violent to his child, but we don't know where the roots of this is coming from. It's coming from work. Leaving that topic in general, I'll speak about myself. Okay, I remember I have supervised a team of people, and at the time I think I turned 24, I had to supervise a team of people who were maybe older than me and things like that. And these people, yes, as a supervisor, they wouldn't maybe speak up to me in it like directly, but you would see the behavior. You just feel like, okay, this is not good. And something that really hurt me, there was a time where I lost my stepdad. In my culture, we call dad. That was my second dad. And it was a
Mhm.
very difficult moment for me. I was grieving, but at the time, I decided to go back to work because I couldn't stay at home. I would feel so bad and anxious. I'm like, okay, let me go to work. This will help me and you see people's way of behaving because I'm not good. I'm coming here, I'm sitting and trying to work because I want to not to sit there and stress. And now comes someone who would say, if you feel like you are too sad about losing your dad, why did you come here? Who forced you? And things like this. I'm like,
Wow.
who says this? And in a certain way,
Lack of empathy,
it's
lack of empathy. Yes.
and this is just because people they don't feel good in themselves. And I feel like in the workplace, sometimes people they are not able to differentiate the person that I am or the person that anyone is from the job title. For example, let's say in the HR, someone is doing something bad, and as a HR personnel, I have to issue a warning to you. You know, this is my job. This is not Missy coming to you and issue a warning, but I'm doing my job. And every time I remember issuing a warning to someone, I'll have a conversation with you and talk to you. And I'll tell the person, like, I'm not the one issuing the warning. You are the one making me issue the warning. And I always tell people, this is time consuming. Me drafting this paper, sitting there with you and try to remind you things that you should already know because you signed the contract, you know the policies, but you still take me into this procedure. It's time consuming. I don't get any pleasure from doing this, but you are doing it like you are putting me in a position
Forcing
where
you
I
to do
have
it.
to do this. And it's emotionally it affects emotionally because I don't want to do it, but I have to do it because it's my job, and people do not put that difference out there, and they just try to badmouth about you or insult and things like that. These are the type of things that go on in the workplace. We do undermine them, but they affect people a lot. Sometimes you have
Well,
the impression that
it's
maybe,
systemic. It's systemic.
sorry,
It's systemic. It's because of the company itself that it operates
yeah,
that way, and the company needs to be retrained Once the company hierarchy is retrained, then it'll, filter down into the employee base through training, through group discussions, through new protocols and standards being. We have a program for that for norm therapy. It's called the Corporate Liaison, where we
Okay.
teach, we send norm therapists into corporations around the world, and we teach their management as well as some of their key people in their organization how to operate as a cohesive team with respect and to eliminate abuse in the workplace. Abuse mitigation is what it's called. So we'll talk more about
Yeah.
that, of course, another time. But I want to ask you some questions about overstepping authority, because I think we're on the same key. I think one of your other key issues you wanted to discuss was overstepping authority. Why is that important to you?
This is important to me, Michael, especially from where I come from. I will tell you one thing. Usually in Congo, you would see someone, let's say, Michael, you are the owner of the company, right? And you hire me to work for you. But you would take maybe your child to come and work with us in the company. It might happen that I am the supervisor to your child, but your child wouldn't want to submit or wouldn't want to follow instructions simply because this is my father's organization. This
Hmm.
person will mess up in the organization and would not follow instructions, mess everything up. And at the end of the day, you will come and blame me because I am the one who is supposed to guide things or get things done. And these things are overlooked so many times
It's
in
called
our
nepotism,
community.
by the way. Nepotism. Uh,
Yes, thank you
when
for that word.
yes,
So
but
this
good,
is
but
basically what happens.
there's some lag going on here, and I apologize. Go ahead, complain. Continue explaining.
All right, thank you. So I was actually saying these are things that happen a lot. Many organizations in Africa, they do not move forward or they do not succeed to the level where they would have simply because of these kind of things happening. People overstep authorities so many times. People undermine others so many times. Sometimes you see someone saying like in an organization, like, oh, I don't want to obey you simply because of this or because of you are this kind of person, or you are from this tribe, you are from this race. Because of this, I don't care whether you are a supervisor. I am doing what I want to do. And these things, many people suffer from such behaviors in the workplace. And sometimes I just speak to people. I kind of tell them, like, you need to respect people because of their position, not because of who they are, what they have, or what they do not have, you know? And that's why I just try to speak to people whenever I have an opportunity to speak to someone about this. I speak about this. Please make a difference between the person and the person's role. And everywhere I go out and work, regardless if my supervisor is younger or older than I always make sure that I respect that person and I work according to what they say because of their position. So this is another topic that that is dear to me, and I also wanted to speak about it and bring awareness out there.
I think so. I mean, people always that's called transitory power. Transitory power is when you have a job title, and that power goes with the job title. And some people don't know how to handle their authority, and they treat people poorly just because they're in charge of them. And I think that any promotion in the world that's given to anyone should always be reflective of good training and the norms and standards and policies of that company. But that isn't always the case. People sometimes they're promoted to manager or supervisor. Next thing you know, they think they need to be mean or nasty to the people below them. So you've experienced that yourself, I'm sure. Now, being in leadership when you go to places, what do you do to make sure that people are not treated poorly under you? What kind of measures do you take?
Okay. Initially, what I do, I always have a conversation with people. I believe communication is key to everything. And I also make sure that the person is aware of the company's policy or whatever policy is going around us. I will explain to you, okay, this is my position. For example, I'll be your supervisor. This is how we're going to work. And whenever the person is not complying, call you. And I will I will remind you about what's going on, and I'll explain to you, like, I'm not here to be your boss or things like that. I'm here just because the team needs to move forward. So everything that you do, it affects me, it affects your colleagues, and it affects the functionality of the entire team. So for the well-being of everyone, let's just work together and move
Mhm.
forward, So I make
So,
sure that I always prioritize communication and explanation and understanding. Because if a person doesn't understand what they have to do or what's going on, nothing will work out. So I prioritize communication in every situation.
so you give yourself an opportunity to make sure that people can actually be heard in the environment in which you're operating and leading. I think that's the biggest problem with leadership in the workplace. And I think number one causes of abuse in the workplace is people don't listen to each other. Of course you should listen to your boss. Of course you should. But your boss should also listen to you. And I think that this is the problem in most corporations when they have a breakdown in communications because normally management is not listening to the employee base. Now, sometimes managers think that they're better than everyone, and that elitist mentality. I think that's another cause for problem within the corporation. But we'll talk more about that in our upcoming segments. I'm sure I'm going to have you back. Uh, but is there any questions you have for me right now, since we're closing out another 8 or 9 minutes? Tell me, what
Oh,
questions do you have
sure.
for me?
Michael, the question that I have for you is, I know norm therapy has been out there and have been helping so many people, but is there any provision in terms of helping other people where they are not English speakers? Reason why I'm asking is because when I was doing my research, I didn't see any report about abusers, especially from French-speaking countries in Africa. People barely report, and this is something that I do see very important for the society. And I know mostly ERO operates in English, but do you have any provision for doing any section, whether in French or in Portuguese, to help other people out there who seek for assistance?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question. As a matter of fact, we're being funded a tremendous amount of money here shortly in the norm therapy side, which is a for profit side of what we do. We'll be expanding our school across the globe in many different countries. We'll be infusing millions of dollars into our platform here shortly. Once we do that, we'll be offering norm therapy training at in French, Spanish, English, German, and Russian, and I think Arabic also. Those are the first languages that we will be addressing norm therapy, training people in norm therapy. We want people to have a dual language capability between English and their cultural language or their native language. We'd like for at least English to be your second language in the beginning, but in the future, what we've also done is we've decided that we're going to license different countries a version of norm therapy. So a group of investors, let's say in the Congo, get together, then that group of investors will, of course, build out the norm therapy platform. We'll do all that for them at headquarters, but they'll have the norm therapy platform in Lingala, as well as in French, as well as in English for the Congo. Or I'm thinking now, what do they speak in Brazzaville? Is it Lingala as well?
We speak Lingala as well, and we do speak Congo as well.
Congolese, right? So with all those different languages on that platform specific to the Congos, for instance, and then the jobs as well as the training will be the same as U.S. wages worldwide. We believe that U.S. have some of the best wages when it comes to this type of activity. Not the best, but some of the best wages in the world. So we'll start our norm therapists out at a good salary. Plus, they'll participate in the hourly costs for different contracts and different individuals. So, yes, there are plans in the very near future, within the next year, that the norm therapy training as well as the platforms will be in at least 6 different languages worldwide and not autonomous of one another, but they'll all be based on the headquartered norm therapy policy, curriculum, the terminology, the jargon, the vernacular. All of that will be within the same family of interests based on the geographic location and the country. Absolutely. And the jobs I think our lowest starting pay or salary is the same in the United States as what a counselor, a licensed therapist or counselor would make after 20 years being in their market. We start out our norm therapists at that particular level of salary. It's pretty interesting. We're going to be posting that as we've completed funding. And we'll be ramping up our norm therapy school. Instead of having 100 people in norm therapy school, we'll have thousands of people around the world in the class and multiplicity of classes overlapping happening throughout the entire curriculum. As well, we're moving to a university platform. We're part of the monies that we're procuring for quite a bit of money. We're buying our own online university that's already accredited with most universities and systems around the world, and we're adding norm therapy to the curriculum. And that's something that we'll be doing in order so people can go to the undergrad course and get a degree in norm therapy. And then, of course, later, of course, a master's program in norm therapy. That's what we're doing to kind of flesh out and build out those businesses in those segments of our society and those countries so they can not only accommodate the language, but stay up to date based on what we're doing at Norm Therapy Inc., the headquarters company, and of course in the language that the people speak. That's what we're doing in the very near future, and there's much more to come out. That all of our apps and all of our services will then be translated in those languages as well. Great question, by the way. I'm glad you asked that one.
Wow, that's
We're
amazing. I'm glad you had this in provision, though.
absolutely. Listen, we would be remiss if we did. It would be something that would be egregious. Everywhere abuse exists. So why wouldn't we have it in the language from around the world? Russian, Spanish, English, French, German. These, even I think Chinese and Japanese are the other two languages that we're looking at as well. Uh, they're much more difficult to incorporate because we need to bring those kinds of professionals on board. We have a lot of people from the Asia on board with us now, but we need to really define that area of the world so we know what kinds of languages and what kinds of because abuse in California is different from abuse in Nigeria, that's different from abuse in the Congo, that's different from abuse in
Exactly.
Australia. So that matrix we're building out for abuse is really awesome. um, can you give some advice to our audience right now? Can you give some advice? And remember, these videos will be looked at millions of times as we start pumping millions of dollars into advertising here soon. But can you give advice to people out there who want to become norm therapists? What advice would you give them?
To anyone who wants to become a norm therapist, the advice that I want to give is do not try to become a norm therapist just because um, of you seeking a job. But if you want to become a norm therapist, make sure that it comes from within you. You have to make sure that this is something that you really feel like helping people, because nonprofit is not like a window, like a standard job where you will come and here are your KPIs, you check you tick all the boxes and that's it. But it's something that wants one to have like a certain level of empathy, a certain level of human consideration, things like that. And you need to
Maturity.
have a great sense of teamwork as well. So this is a job which is very interesting, but also it can get emotional because you'll be listening to stories that will break you. You're listening to stories that will make you angry, but you still need to have a balance between you as a person and you as a non-therapist. Once you know that you are able to balance that and you have this heart that helps you to understand and show empathy and sympathy towards people's stories and reminding yourself that you do not have to judge them, then you're good to go. So this, I don't know what the job title will really look like when Michael has it out there, but these are the small requirements that I would say that one needs to have when trying to become a non-therapist. It's a great environment. Yes, you will learn about yourself. You will get to know yourself better, but you need empathy and sympathy within one to become a great norm therapist.
Well, let me just close us out by saying if you've enjoyed and got something out of today's live podcast, share this live session with a friend who could benefit from this message. Also, please go to goaro.org and to, of course, normtherapy.com and explore our opportunities and seek help for yourself or someone needing our services. If you're interested in applying to participate in our live sessions as a guest, victim, survivor, or otherwise, please email us at contact@normtherapy.com. Thank you for joining us. And we can't wait to see you again this Tuesday, July 2nd. I think I'm doing a panel interview. I'm not sure, but you'll get the advertisement notices out there. And thank you, Messi. It was wonderful having you on board. And I haven't talked to you in a while because you're down there in Brazil these days. But we'll keep you abreast on what's going on in the company. And when we're starting to hire again, hopefully this summer.